Welcome back to the internet. Design 264 with Avery and co-host Beckett. Today, a tutorial in Illustrator guides. We're going to talk about paths a little bit too, but the inspiration for this tutorial is the Samsung Galaxy UI UX redesign by Pentagram, and Eddie Opera is the lead in this design project, and he is a partner at Pentagram. And so what they did is create a set of icons for the phone, the new Galaxy, and the icons are based off of the profile of the phone itself, the physical object. So they created a set of digital icons, a suite to go along with the look of the physical object. And they use this grid system as the foundation, as the underlayment of the icon set, so that the icons, sort of like this path line-based icon system, conforms to a grid system. And we can do that in Illustrator. Just like this. Okay, so here we are in Illustrator. Let's talk about guides really quickly first. So to get to just like the guide area is in view and down here at the bottom, guides. So you hide guides, you can unlock and lock guides, and you can see these right here we can do. I'll show you that in a second. Smart guides, I'll show you really quick. So hit M on the keyboard. Smart guides, see that little pink arrow that shows up right there, or the pink line? That's center, right? There's the center of my artboard that pops up. Those are smart guides. So those things show up with the rectangle tool. If I hit Shift, I can lock the proportion to square. Oh, he finished his snack. And you can see that the diagonal line, that's the smart guide. Hover over a path, it says path. Hover over an anchor point, it says anchor. Path, anchor, right? So you're with him. So those are really helpful, but they can be toggled off if that gets in your way, because it does a little bit of snapping. Speaking of which, snap to pixel and snap to point, totally useful for some things. Sometimes it's not what you want. Snap to grid, similarly. Wait, where's the grid? Show grid. There's a grid, and you can change this grid. So grids, guides, totally go together, are all useful. Go to Edit, Preferences, see right there, and we go to Guides and Grids. And then here are things you can change. So you can change your guides colors, so to any color you want right here. Cancel, and you can hit your grid system. So you can see why mine is green in the background there. Oh, he's making a phone call. And you can also change the size of the squares within the grid. So let's go from 50 pixels to 100 pixels, and you can see they get smaller. Let's go. Let's go, guides and grids. Let's make them bigger. So 50 pixels to every grid line, every 200 pixels. Blam! Look at that. I don't want to see the grid right now, so I'm going to do Control and then quotation mark, and takes that. That's the toggle off. That's the shortcut. Boop. So I want to show you one way to pull kind of line guides in. So Control or Command R brings up your rulers. You'll see at the top and at the left. I'm gonna make just a square really quickly so you can see it. I'm gonna change the fill to just something visible. No stroke. I kind of don't want that to get in my way. And then so I can use my smart guides to just find the center of the artboard, which I did, or look in my properties window or at the top panel, and you can see I can just set this square exactly in the middle. You toggle here to do align to selection or artboard. Right now it's going to be artboard because it's the only thing selected, so that's hopefully will just be sort of your default. I'm losing it. So you can center your selection to the artboard there, and then that's sort of the vertical center, and then the horizontal center. All right, so let's see. Keeping him occupied with object while we cruise on. So to bring in guides that align to an object that you already have on your artboard, go to the ruler section, click, drag in, and you can see that I'm still clicking, have a guide. If I hover right there, it's the smart guide, pink, tells me I'm on the path. Dope. Go to the top ruler, pull it in. Dope. That's not good. Here, chew on this. Yeah. You see the technique, right? Path, get to the path. Get to the path. Nope. You can also control Command Z to go back with guides. Now I want to go to the center of this one. So let's see if I can pull in a guide, find the center. Same thing, pull in a guide, find the center. Ooh, now we're cruising. So let's say I want to keep adding, I want to sort of like, I have my square, and then I want to have a circle in each of the quadrants, or at least in 2 of the quadrants. So I'm just going to take this square, because everything should line up here with the center, right? Everything, I'm essentially just reducing this by half. And so I'm going to use this shape again to assist me with finding a center and a center. And that's where like smart guides are really coming in handy here. I'm going to pull this down to here, intersect, looking for that smart guide Q. Oh, and center. Ooh, missed it. And well, let me show you. So if you don't have smart guides locked, so let's make sure guides, or don't have guides locked, pardon me. I'm gonna unlock this guide, and now I can hover over my guide, see it's selected, and boom, now I can move it. If I want to, oh man, oh no, oh no. Hey y'all, Becca had to go play, so it's just us right now. So here we are with our guides. They're still locked, and remember to get to that is just the toggle view guides and unlock and lock guides. And there's a shortcut for that if you want to use it. Control Alt or Alt Command and then the semicolon. So the guides are locked, so we can't move them. And the shape we can move. Do Command Z to go back on that. What I want to do now is show you. I don't want this snap to pixel or snap to point on. And I'll show you what happens if you have, say, snap to grid on. So if I toggle my grid back on, which is Command or Control quotation mark, if I hit M for the rectangle tool, for example, look, I can build something, a perfect square here using the snap to grid, which is really great if you know exactly what your grid dimensions need to be for each square. But when you have that snap to grid on, you don't have the option of using the smart guides. The smart guides toggle off when snap to grid is toggled on. So let's toggle snap to grid off because I'm going to want my smart guides for this. So, and I'm going to take the grid off, the Illustrator grid system off, so I just have the grid system that I built. And in this area, so I have a square here, and then remember our big square, I want to have 2 circles in these. I'm going to build a shape around them. So how do we get a circle guide, right? It looks like we're just using lines. I'll show you. So your stroke and fill can be set to anything when you're making, like starting to make a guide. I'll do no stroke because it's easier for me to just see. When you're making a circle, so you can go to a corner point, right? And you like click and drag to make an ellipse. So which my smart guide says intersect, which it does. I'll click and start dragging. And then I'm going to hold shift to lock in the circle. And then I'm going to go find a point that the other intersect. So now let's inspect. This circle should be lined up perfectly with my guides, and it doesn't seem to be. So that's a little disappointing. So I'm just going to zoom in, and sometimes you have to do this with guides. You just have to get a little bit closer and make sure that all the points line up, with the tangents, and make sure. So that's just, even if it says a smart guide, I'll always inspect. I'm going to show you another way of making a circle from a center point. So with the ellipse tool, L, remember on the keyboard, if you hold down Alt, and then come, let's zoom in this time. So we'll come down here, hold down Alt, wait till it goes to intersect in your smart guides, and then click and drag out. I'm going to hold shift to lock in the circle portion, and then wait till I hit that guide, and then let's inspect, and it should be on all of the tangents. Awesome. So now we can turn these perfect circles in our homemade grid system into guides. A couple ways to do that. So one is you just click on the object, go to View, Guides, and then Make Guides. Sweet, you can see what happens. It takes on the guide stroke, which is different than a regular stroke. And because we have guides toggled to lock, we can't move it anymore. Or you can click on your shape, right click, and you can see you have Make Guides. It's one of those menu options. So now we have a guide system. Let's really quickly build something inspired by the Galaxy UI design, or icon design. So L for an ellipse. Let's get rid of our fill. Let's have a stroke of, say, 15. We'll do the technique of starting in the center. So wait till I get my center point. Click. And go out. So I didn't necessarily need to make the guides for this, because I could have just used the grid system. But I just wanted to show you how you can turn any shape into a guide. Let's do that again. So center, build out. Let's see how I did here. Looks like I got it. So, sometimes smart guides will deceive you. You just have to be vigilant. So click on a shape, and then now I'm going to cut the shape. I want to make this sort of like S situation. So here's another little tool, the scissor tool. So it's right over here. Shortcut is C on your keyboard. When you have your shape selected, you can cut anywhere on a path, but I want to very specifically cut on some anchor points because I want this to be my S that curves down. So I'm going to cut this anchor point, and I'm going to cut, we'll say intersect, because it's the anchor point that's intersecting with some of the guides, and the intersection with the other shape. But that's what I want. And then with my direct selection, or my selection tool actually, because it cuts it into two different shapes, two different paths, I can just delete that. Sweet. Let's do it again for the one at the bottom. Select it, C, cut that anchor out, cut that intersection out. Let's select the part we just cut. Boom. So now you have the sort of S. But you'll notice, or I'll show you right now, it's two different shapes. And, to have a nice clean design, we want these to be connected. So you can't use Pathfinder for this because it does a connection thing that you might not want. We just specifically want to join these two paths at this point right here. So let's select them. I just did with the selection tool, object, path, and it will join the two paths. So now we have one shape, and then we can, change the stroke to them. We can change some of the stroke details, so we can have a round cap. Cool, right? If that's part of the look of whatever design you're doing. And then there you go, sort of a specificity dependent or built off of an underlying grid system. And that's where we'll leave it. Hold on. Last thing. This is how you make the guides go away. View, guides.